Jack Harrison stood at the edge of the Grand Hall, watching the various alien delegates mingle. The room buzzed with different languages and translators, creating a gentle hum beneath the soft music. Jack adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform and checked his reflection in one of the polished marble columns. At 42, his brown hair showed touches of gray at the temples, but his eyes remained sharp and observant. As Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, Jack represented all of humanity. It was a heavy burden for someone who had grown up in a small town in Ohio. Sometimes he still couldn't believe how far he had come, from teaching history at a community college to speaking for an entire planet. "Ambassador Harrison, how delightful to see you again," purred a voice behind him. Jack turned to face Ambassador Zrill, whose blue-scaled skin glistened under the crystal chandeliers. The Trill diplomat towered over Jack by at least 2 feet, but Jack had learned long ago not to be intimidated by size. "Ambassador Zrill, the pleasure is mine," Jack replied with a practiced smile. "How are things in the Concordance?" "Prosperous as always," Zrill said, waving the 6-fingered hand. "And your little Earth?" Still expanding into the Orion arm. Jack noticed the slight edge in Zrill's voice. "We're establishing peaceful colonies, yes, all within the boundaries set by treaty." Of course, Zrill said. "It's just that your species moves so quickly. Most races take centuries to reach your level of expansion." Before Jack could respond, a short, furry diplomat from the Vorn hegemony approached them. "Ambassador Harrison, just the human I wanted to see." Jack greeted Ambassador Krull warmly, but something felt off. He had been a diplomat long enough to sense when something wasn't right. Both the Trill and the Vorn were being too friendly, especially since they had opposed humanity's request for mining rights in the Ta Ceti system just last week. As the evening continued, Jack moved carefully between groups, listening more than speaking. In a corner, partially hidden by a decorative plant, he overheard fragments of conversation between a Vorn official and a member of the ancient XR race, a species rarely seen at public functions. Containment protocols. Human problem growing too quickly. Resources already allocated. Jack kept his face neutral and pretended to sip his drink. The words sent a chill down his spine. He had suspected some resistance to humanity's growth, but this sounded like something more organized. Later, as the gathering wound down, Jack's assistant, Olivia Peters, approached him. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her expression was serious. "Sir, we've received a request to attend an unscheduled meeting tomorrow about the mining rights in Ta Ceti," she said quietly. "Who called the meeting?" Jack asked. "The Trill Concordance, but the Vorn and 3 other races will be there." Jack nodded slowly. "Interesting timing. I think we need to be extra careful, Olivia. Something doesn't feel right." That night in his quarters, Jack encrypted a message to Earth. He couldn't prove anything yet, but his instincts told him trouble was coming. As a precaution, he copied all recent communications and diplomatic files to a secure channel only accessible by Earth's Defense Command. "Computer, send priority message to Admiral Carter. Frank, unusual activity among council races. Request increased alert status for forces near Ta Ceti. Will update after tomorrow's meeting. This is likely nothing, but better safe than sorry." Jack looked out his window at the 3 moons of Centauri Prime and the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was Earth, still new to the galactic stage. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, joining a community of species who had been spacefaring for thousands of years. What Jack didn't know was that some of those ancient races had seen Earth's rapid rise with growing alarm, and they had decided that something needed to be done about the human problem. The meeting room was too cold. Jack Harrison noticed this as soon as he entered with his security officer, Lisa Morgan. Lisa was a former Marine with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her hand rested near her hidden weapon as they took their seats at the large oval table. "Ambassador Harrison, thank you for joining us on such short notice," said Ambassador Zrill. 5 other alien representatives sat around the table. None of them smiled. "The mining rights for Ta City are important to Earth," Jack replied evenly. "We're always ready to discuss fair terms." The Vorn representative, Krell, pushed a document across the table. "We have prepared a new proposal. Your mining operations must be reduced by 70%. Jack raised an eyebrow, but kept his face calm. "That's a significant change from our last discussion. May I ask why?" "Environmental concerns," said a tall, thin alien from the Grath Directorate. "Your mining methods are disruptive." Jack knew this was a lie. Earth's mining technology was more advanced and cleaner than most council races. He opened his datapad and began reviewing the document, but noticed something odd in the file code. Hidden beneath the proposal was another document. While pretending to read, Jack activated a secret command on his pad. Years of diplomatic training had taught him to look for hidden information. The pad copied the hidden file without alerting the others. "I'll need time to review this with my team," Jack said, looking up. Zrill's expression hardened. "We require an answer today, Ambassador." Lisa shifted slightly in her chair, a signal that something was wrong. Jack had worked with her long enough to know she sensed danger. "Perhaps a short recess would help," Jack suggested, standing slowly. "Just 30 minutes. The aliens exchanged glances before Krell nodded. 30 minutes. In a small private room, Jack quickly opened the hidden file, while Lisa guarded the door. "Oh my God," Jack whispered as he read. The file contained plans for coordinated strikes against human colonies. The attacks would look like accidents or pirate raids. Earth was to be isolated, cut off from resources, and eventually forced into submission. "How bad?" Lisa asked, her voice low. "Bad. They're planning to attack our colonies. We need to get this to Earth immediately." Jack connected his pad to his secure transmitter. "This proves everything I suspected." Lisa checked her weapon. "We should leave now." "I don't like this." Jack nodded as the file transferred. "Agreed. Tell the pilot to prepare the shuttle." "Wheel." The door slid open. 3 armed security officers from the Trill Concordance stood there. "Ambassador Harrison, you're accessing restricted networks. Please come with us," one said. Lisa moved faster than Jack had ever seen. She pulled her weapon and pushed Jack behind her. "American diplomatic staff have immunity. We're leaving now." The corridor erupted into chaos. Lisa fired, hitting one of the guards. "Run," she shouted to Jack. "Get to the shuttle." They raced through the hallways, alarms blaring around them. More guards appeared ahead. Lisa took them down with precise shots, while Jack followed close behind. "Almost there," Lisa said as they reached the landing bay. Their shuttle waited, door open. The pilot waved frantically. They were 20 feet from safety when the explosion hit. The shuttle erupted in flames. The force threw Jack and Lisa to the ground. Jack's ears rang as he struggled to his feet. Lisa was bleeding but still conscious. She fired at guards entering the bay. "The transmission," Jack coughed, checking his pad. "Only partial send. Not enough proof." More guards were coming. Lisa pulled Jack toward a maintenance corridor. "There's an emergency escape pod this way." They made it 50 feet before the second explosion. The ceiling collapsed. Jack felt sharp pain as metal beams crashed down on him. "Go," he told Lisa, who was trapped beneath lighter debris. "Get to Earth. Tell them what's happening." "Not without you," she insisted, trying to free him. "That's an order," Jack said, his voice weakening. He pressed his data pad into her hand. "They need to know." Lisa's face was the last thing Jack saw as darkness closed in. Behind her, alien guards approached with weapons raised. The last sound Jack heard was Lisa firing her weapon as she escaped into the corridor, carrying with her the partial evidence of a conspiracy that would soon bring the wrath of humanity upon the galaxy. Admiral Frank Carter stood motionless in front of the large display screen. The command center of Earth Defense Headquarters was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. The message flashing on the screen made his stomach turn. "Ambassador Harrison, Status: deceased. Sir, said a young officer named Paul Wright, we received a partial data transmission before we lost contact. It came through the emergency channel. Frank nodded slowly. Show me. The screen changed to display fragments of documents and a brief video. Jack's face appeared, bloodied and urgent. Frank. Conspiracy confirmed. Attack planned against colonies. Trill and Vorn leading. Larger plot. Lisa has evidence. Activate diplomat down. The video cut off abruptly. Frank closed his eyes for a moment. Jack had been his friend for 20 years. Sir, Paul said quietly, the Galactic Council has issued a statement. They're claiming Ambassador Harrison died in an accident, a shuttle malfunction. Frank's jaw tightened, and Agent Morgan. No official word, but our sensors detected a small craft leaving Centauri Prime at high speed shortly after the incident. It's using one of our emergency signatures. Track it. Send our fastest ship to intercept and protect. Frank turned to face the room full of officers. Everyone watched him, waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, as of this moment, we are at Defense Condition 1. This is not a drill. Across the room, faces turned serious. Hands moved quickly over controls. Alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Activate the diplomat down protocol, Frank ordered. Paul looked up, surprised. Sir, that would mean. I know exactly what it means, Frank said firmly. Execute the order. Paul turned to his console and entered a complex series of codes. A new screen appeared, requesting voice confirmation. Frank spoke clearly. This is Admiral Frank Carter, Earth Defense Force. Authorization Delta 7, Echo 92. Confirm diplomat down protocol. Authentication. Thermopila. The computer processed for 3 seconds. Diplomat down protocol confirmed and activated. Around the world and throughout the solar system, hidden systems came to life. Deep beneath the lunar surface, massive doors slid open. Inside the asteroid belt, what appeared to be mining stations began to transform. On Earth, military bases went into immediate lockdown. In his private office, Frank established a secure connection with the President of the United Earth Government. Madam President, I've activated the diplomat down protocol. Ambassador Harrison has been killed. President Diane Clark's face showed no surprise, only grim determination. You have confirmation of hostile intent. Yes, Mom. Partial data, but enough to confirm our suspicions. The Trill and Vorn are definitely involved, possibly others. Then we proceed as planned. She straightened in her chair. Admiral, you have full operational authority. How long until we're ready? The first wave will be visible in 6 hours. Complete deployment in 12. She nodded. The public announcement is prepared. I'll address Earth and the colonies in 1 hour. Her expression softened slightly. Jack was a good man. The best, Frank agreed. And they'll pay for what they did to him. After the call ended, Frank returned to the command center. The room was now a flurry of activity as officers executed the carefully planned protocol. On a special screen, Frank could see status updates from across human space. Green lights appeared one by one, indicating readiness. Each light represented something the rest of the galaxy didn't know existed. For 50 years, humanity had shown the galaxy only what they wanted others to see. A modest fleet, basic defensive capabilities, reasonable technology, all while hiding their true strength. Sir, Paul called out, we've received confirmation from Titan Base. The retribution is powered and ready. Frank allowed himself a small, grim smile. Excellent. And Captain Williams. She's already aboard and assuming command. Good. Frank turned to look at the large galactic map. Begin the countdown. It's time to show the galaxy who they're really dealing with. Across human space, inside hidden bases and secret facilities, massive warships began to power up. 500,000 dreadnoughts, built in secret over decades, prepared to emerge. The galaxy had taken one human life. Humanity would make sure they never made that mistake again. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with angry voices. Representatives from 23 alien races argued among themselves. At the center of the room, Ambassador Zrill of the Trill Concordance tried to maintain order. Please, esteemed colleagues, the human ambassador's death was a tragic accident. There is no need for panic. A small green alien jumped onto the speaking platform. Then explain why our long-range sensors are detecting unusual activity in the Sol system. Before Zrill could answer, the chamber doors slid open. Lisa Morgan walked in, her uniform torn and dirty, her face bruised but determined. 2 human security officers flanked her. Unusual activity. Lisa said loudly, "You haven't seen anything yet." The room fell silent as she approached the center. "Agent Morgan," Zrill said nervously, "we thought you died in the accident." Lisa smiled coldly. "No accident. It was murder. Ambassador Harrison discovered your plans to attack our colonies. You killed him for it." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many representatives looked confused or shocked. "These are serious accusations," said Krell of the Vorn. "Where is your proof?" Lisa held up Jack's datapad. "Right here. Partial, but enough. And more is coming." At that moment, every screen in the chamber flickered. President Clark's face appeared. "Attention, Galactic Council. I am President Diane Clark of Earth. Ambassador Jack Harrison was murdered yesterday while trying to prevent a war. His killers will face justice." The screens changed to show a massive warship emerging from what looked like a fold in space. The ship was unlike anything the Council had seen before. It was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons. "For 50 years, the President continued, humanity has hidden its true capabilities. We hoped to live in peace, but we prepared for war. The ship you're seeing is the Retribution, commanded by Captain Grace Williams. It's the first of many." Around the council chamber, representatives gasped or shouted in disbelief. "Our sensors must be malfunctioning," Krell said, checking his datapad frantically. "This cannot be real." Lisa pointed to another screen where more ships were appearing. "Those aren't malfunctions. Those are human dreadnoughts." On board the Retribution, Captain Grace Williams stood on the bridge. She was 40 years old with short red hair and eyes that had seen combat. The massive bridge crew worked efficiently around her. "Status report," Grace ordered. "All systems operating at full capacity, Captain," replied her first officer, Ben Martinez. "The dimensional shields are down. We are visible to all galactic sensors." Grace nodded. "And the other ships?" "Emerging on schedule. First wave of 50,000 dreadnoughts now visible." Grace looked at the tactical display. Across human space, hidden fleets were emerging from dimensional pockets where they had been concealed for decades. The technology had cost Earth trillions to develop, but it had kept their true strength hidden until needed. "Captain," Ben said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple council worlds. They're panicking." "Good," Grace replied. "Fear is appropriate right now." She turned to a special station on the bridge where a glowing blue hologram flickered. "Are you with us, Ambassador?" The hologram formed into Jack Harrison's face. Before his death, Jack's mind had been regularly scanned and stored as part of standard protocol for key personnel. His consciousness now existed as an AI advisor. "I'm here, Captain," Jack's hologram said, "though this existence takes some getting used to." "Your warning saved us from being caught unprepared," Grace said. "Now we need your diplomatic skills more than ever." Jack's hologram nodded. "The Trill and Vorn are just pawns. Someone else is pulling the strings. We need to find out who." Back in the council chamber, Lisa watched as fear spread through the alien representatives. On the screens around them, more and more human warships appeared. The count was now over 200,000, and still rising. "What do you want?" Cyril finally asked, his voice shaking. Lisa's eyes were cold. "Justice. And the truth. This is your only warning. A single human was killed. and 500,000 dreadnoughts have answered. Captain Grace Williams stood tall as the camera drones recorded her message. The bridge of the Retribution was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Every crew member watched their captain with pride and determination. To the Galactic Council and all civilizations of the known galaxy, Grace began. I am Captain Grace Williams of the Earth Defense Force. For centuries, humanity studied your histories. We watched how you eliminated species you considered threats. We learned from your mistakes and your cruelty. Grace paused, her green eyes hard as stone. A single human, Ambassador Jack Harrison, was killed while trying to prevent war. Now 500,000 dreadnoughts have answered. Our ships surround every major world of the Trill Concordance and the Vorn hegemony. We can strike anywhere in Council space within minutes. On thousands of alien worlds, people watched the human captain with growing fear. The message was being broadcast on all frequencies in all known languages. You have 12 hours to surrender those responsible for Ambassador Harrison's death and reveal the full details of your planned attacks on human colonies. If you fail to comply, we will take action. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. In the council chamber, representatives argued loudly. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others called for unity against the human threat. We should destroy them now, shouted a Vorn general, before more of their ships appear. An elder from a peaceful race called the Mira stood up. Are you insane? Did you not see their fleet? They could have destroyed us already if that was their intention. Lisa Morgan watched from the side of the room. She had been joined by Alan Rodriguez, an intelligence officer who had arrived on a fast scout ship. He was tall with dark hair and a serious face. The plan is working, Alan whispered. They're turning on each other. Lisa nodded. We need to identify exactly who gave the order to kill Jack. Not just the species, but the individuals. I've been analyzing the data from Ambassador Harrison's pad, Alan said. There's something strange. The Trill and Vorn are definitely involved, but some of these communications refer to instructions from someone else. A third party? Lisa asked. Yes, but carefully hidden. I need more time. On the Retribution, Grace met with Jack's hologram in her private quarters. The blue light of his form cast shadows on the walls. They're scared, Grace said. Good. Jack's hologram shook his head. Fear can make them dangerous. We need to be careful. Careful? Grace's voice rose. They killed you, Jack. I know, but something bigger is happening here. The Trill and Vorn aren't smart enough to plan this alone. Someone else is using them. The ship's computer interrupted. Captain, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the XR sector. Grace frowned. The XR. They haven't been active in galactic politics for thousands of years. Exactly, Jack's hologram said. Why now? Across the galaxy, on a hidden world deep in uncharted space, a group of ancient beings gathered in a dark chamber. Their bodies were tall and thin, with skin like polished silver. These were the XR Collective, a race so old they had watched younger species discover fire. The humans have revealed their strength too soon, said the XR leader. Our puppets have failed us. Another XR moved forward. Humans are dangerous because of their unique neural patterns. They resist our influence. If they discover our existence, they must not. The leader interrupted. Activate the final protocol. If our proxies cannot eliminate the human threat, we will do it ourselves. As the 12-hour deadline counted down, tensions grew across the galaxy. On 27 worlds, protests erupted demanding peace with humans. On other planets, military forces prepared for war. In her quarters on the Retribution, Grace looked at a photo of her family on Earth. Her husband and 2 children smiled back at her. She touched the image gently. We're doing this for them, she whispered. For all of us. Her computer chimed. Captain, 6 hours until the deadline. Admiral Carter is requesting an update. Grace straightened her uniform. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades. There was no turning back now. Lisa Morgan and Alan Rodriguez worked quickly in a small room near the council chamber. Alan had connected Jack's data pad to his specialized equipment. Screens around them displayed fragments of secret messages and coded communications. "Look at this," Alan said, pointing to a series of symbols. "These aren't Trill or Vorn codes. They're much older." Lisa leaned closer. "Can you trace them?" "I'm trying." Alan's fingers moved rapidly over his console. "The encryption is unlike anything I've seen before, but there's a pattern." On the main council floor, the situation was deteriorating. The Trill ambassador Zrill was shouting at the Vorn representative Krell. "Your people pushed for the humans' elimination. Now look what you've done." Krell's fur bristled with anger. "It was your assassins who carried out the attack. Your ships that destroyed the shuttle." Other council members watched in horror as the former allies turned on each other. With 5 hours left until the human deadline, panic was setting in. Back on the Retribution, Grace studied the reports from across the galaxy. Human ships had positioned themselves near every major council world. The show of force was working. Several smaller races had already pledged neutrality or support for Earth. Jack's hologram appeared beside her. "Grace, I've been analyzing communication patterns from the last 50 years. There's something strange." "What is it?" Grace asked. Whenever humans made significant technological advances, the Trill and Vorn would suddenly have diplomatic disagreements with us. But before those disagreements, there were always unusual energy patterns from the XR sector. Grace frowned. "You think the XR have been manipulating events. But why? They've been isolated for thousands of years." "I don't know yet," Jack's hologram said. "But I'm starting to think my death wasn't just about mining rights or human expansion. It was about something the XR feared." In the council room, Alan suddenly straightened. "I've got it. I've broken part of the code." Lisa looked at the decoded message on the screen. "Rui Priority. Human in URL patterns RESISTANT to standard influence. Continue monitoring. If RESISTANCES to other species, initiate CONT protocol." "Neural patterns," Lisa said. "What does that mean?" Alan's eyes widened as more text appeared. "Lisa, I think I know why the XR have stayed hidden. They can control other species mentally, but not humans. We're immune somehow. And they see that as a threat." Lisa finished. "So they've been using the Trill and Vorn as puppets to keep us contained." Alan nodded grimly. "And when Jack discovered the planned attacks, he unknowingly threatened to expose the car's existence." Lisa activated her secure communicator. "Captain Williams, this is Agent Morgan. We have critical information about who's behind Ambassador Harrison's death." After listening to Lisa's discovery, Grace called an emergency meeting with her command staff. Admiral Carter joined via secure transmission from Earth. "If this is true," the Admiral said, "we're not just facing the Trill and Vorn. We're facing an ancient race with technology far beyond our understanding." "But they fear us," Grace pointed out. "Our immunity to their mental control makes us dangerous to them." Jack's hologram joined the discussion. "The XR have likely been manipulating galactic politics for millennia. That explains why so many promising young species mysteriously declined or destroyed themselves." "So what do we do?" asked Ben Martinez, Grace's first officer. Grace stood up. "We expose them. To everyone." On the XR homeworld, the collective leaders sensed the changing situation. Their silver skin pulsed with nervous energy. "The humans are close to discovering us," one said. "They must be stopped." The leader moved to a crystal platform. "Activate all our agents throughout the galaxy. Order the Trill and Vorn fleets to attack human colonies immediately. We will emerge from hiding and join them." Another XR looked concerned. "But the human fleet is powerful, yes. But our technology has developed over millions of years. We have weapons they cannot imagine. The leader's eyes narrowed. The human resistance to our control is a mutation that must be eliminated before it spreads. As the deadline approached, the galaxy stood on the edge of a war unlike any it had seen before. The truth about who really controlled the Council was about to be exposed. The 12-hour deadline passed. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Grace Williams watched as her tactical display lit up with hundreds of new signals. "The Trill and Vorn fleets are mobilizing," reported Ben Martinez. "They're ignoring our ultimatum." Grace nodded calmly. "And the XR?" "Massive energy signatures detected, Captain. Ships unlike anything we've seen before are emerging from the XR sector." Grace tapped her command console. "All ships. This is Captain Williams. Execute battle plan Thermopylae. Target military installations only. Avoid civilian centers." Across the galaxy, human dreadnoughts moved into formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, built in secret over decades. The fleet split into 3 main groups, one facing the Trill, one opposing the Vorn, and the largest confronting the emerging Car fleet. On Earth, Admiral Frank Carter addressed the Defense Council. "The XR have revealed themselves. This confirms everything Agent Morgan and Officer Rodriguez discovered. They've been manipulating galactic politics for thousands of years." The President asked, "Can we win this fight?" Frank's face was grim but determined. "Our ships and weapons are advanced, but the XR technology is ancient. This won't be easy, but we planned for this day. We're ready." In the Orion sector, the first battles began. Trill warships fired on human colonies, only to find their weapons absorbed by hidden shield systems. The human response was swift and precise. Dreadnoughts targeted Trill military bases while carefully avoiding civilian areas. "We are not like them," Grace had told her commanders. "We fight those who attacked us, not innocent people." Near the Vega system, 30 human dreadnoughts faced over 100 Vorn battlecruisers. The Vorn attacked in waves, expecting to overwhelm the humans with numbers. They were wrong. Human ships unveiled weapon systems that had been kept secret, gravity disruptors that disabled Vorn engines, and precision beam weapons that cut through shields with surgical accuracy. But the true test came in the XR sector. 200,000 human dreadnoughts formed a massive wall in space, facing the emerging Car fleet. The XR ships were beautiful and terrible, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. They'd moved in ways that defied normal physics. "They're opening fire," Ben reported as the first XR energy beams lanced out. Several human ships took direct hits. Some held against the strange weapons, but others broke apart. "Return fire," Grace ordered. "All ships, execute flanking maneuver Delta." The human fleet responded with perfect coordination. Thousands of ships moved in complex patterns that Jack Harrison had designed based on ancient Earth military strategies. The Romans, the Mongols, Napoleon, and other military geniuses from human history had inspired the battle plans. On the tactical display, Grace watched as the human ships executed a double envelopment, a tactic used by Hannibal against the Romans thousands of years ago. "The XR don't understand human warfare," Jack's hologram said as he analyzed the battle. "They've relied on mind control for so long, they've forgotten how to fight creative opponents." The XR weapons were devastating, but their tactics were predictable. Human ships took losses but adapted quickly. For every dreadnought lost, the humans destroyed multiple XR vessels. Lisa Morgan and Alan Rodriguez watched the battles from a secure room in the council building. They had broadcast the truth about the XR to all council races. Many were in shock, realizing they had been manipulated for centuries. "Look," Alan said, pointing to new signals on their display. "Ships from the Mira and 3 other races. They're joining our fleet." As the battle raged across multiple systems, the XR leader sent a direct message to the Retribution. "You cannot win, humans. We have ruled this galaxy since before your kind discovered fire." Grace looked at Jack's hologram. then back at the screen. We don't need to rule the galaxy. We just need to be free. And after today, everyone else will be free of you too. The largest space battle in galactic history continued, spreading across 12 star systems. Human dreadnoughts faced the ancient power of the XR, fighting not just for Earth, but for the freedom of all races who had lived under XR manipulation for millennia. 1 month after the Great Battle, representatives from over 100 alien races gathered in a new council chamber. The room was built in a circle with all seats at the same height. No race sat above another. In the center stood a simple memorial. A hologram of Jack Harrison smiled gently at the gathered aliens. Below it were the words, "For peace, justice, and the freedom of all." Grace Williams, now wearing the formal uniform of an admiral, addressed the assembly. The war is over. The XR leadership has surrendered after their main fleet was defeated. The Trill and Vorn have removed those who plotted against humanity. A new day has begun for all of us. Around the room, aliens of all shapes and sizes listened carefully. Some had fought alongside humans. Others had been neutral. A few had opposed Earth, but now sought peace. Humanity did not fight to rule. Grace continued. We fought to end the secret control that the XR held over all of us. Today, we propose a new galactic charter based on equality, transparency, and mutual defense. Lisa Morgan stood near the back of the room with Alan Rodriguez. Both wore medals for their role in uncovering the XR conspiracy. Hard to believe it's been a month, Alan said quietly. Lisa nodded. I still expect to see Jack walk through the door. She looked at the memorial. The real Jack, not the hologram. His actions saved countless lives, Alan replied. Without his warning, we might not have been ready. Across the galaxy, life was slowly returning to normal. The human fleet had returned most of its dreadnoughts to their hidden dimensional pockets. They remained ready but invisible, a quiet reminder of Earth's power. On human colonies, people looked up at the stars with new confidence. What had begun with one death had led to a new era of peace. In her quarters, Grace spoke with Jack's hologram. Though not truly Jack, the AI contained his memories, personality, and wisdom. The new council is working better than I expected, Grace said. 27 new trade agreements signed this week alone. Jack's hologram smiled. People appreciate freedom once they realize they never had it. The XR controlled everything for so long that most races forgot how to make their own choices. What about the remaining car? Grace asked. The ones who weren't involved in the leadership. They're adapting. Without their mental control abilities, they're learning to interact normally with other species. Some are even helping study how humans developed immunity to their influence. A soft chime interrupted them. Admiral Williams, her computer announced, President Clark is requesting to speak with you. Grace straightened her uniform. Put her through. The president's face appeared on the screen. Admiral, the Senate has unanimously approved the Galactic Charter. Earth is officially the first signatory. Excellent news, Madam President. There's more, the President continued. The new council has asked if you would serve as the first High Commander of the United Fleet. It would mean overseeing ships from all member worlds. Grace looked surprised. They trust a human with that responsibility. After what we did, fighting to free them rather than conquer them, yes, they do. The President smiled. And they've asked for Agent Morgan to head a new intelligence division focused on preventing future threats. After the call ended, Grace stood at her window, looking out at the stars. So much had changed in such a short time. Jack's hologram appeared beside her. You should take the position. And you? Grace asked. What will you do? I'll serve as advisor to the new council. My experience as a diplomat might help prevent future conflicts. Together, they watched as ships from a dozen worlds passed by the Retribution. Many had fought against humans just weeks ago. Now they flew in formation with Earth vessels. The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson. A single human was killed, and 500,000 dreadnoughts had answered. But humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its ships or weapons. It was in choosing justice over vengeance and freedom over power. As Grace prepared for her new role, she kept a picture of Jack Harrison on her desk, a reminder that sometimes one person can change the course of history.